Welcome to the Under the Ring Report, where fans talk pro wrestling, no holds barred. And now your hosts, John the Flesh Wound and Cousin Tom.
And with us, Cousin Tom. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I can't complain. Thought this week we'd kind of discuss the big elephant in the room, Brock Lesnar as Universal Champion. What do you think of it right now?
Well, I'll tell you, to be honest, I'm a little underwhelmed.
Yeah?
Used to be, I can remember that the big champion, that was always the go-home match on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
That was always the big build-up. They were always on TV. You don't see Lesnar on TV as much. You see him a little bit, only because it's close to pay-per-view time.
Yeah.
He's got that cushy contract, which, he earned it, by doing all the stuff he's done in the past, plus the UFC and everything else. He became, he earned that contract.
Yeah.
But, I want my champion on every night.
Well, and see, I'm with you there. I find it hard to watch Raw when I know he's not there, because part of the attraction is just maybe there could be a title shot, or there could be something that I care about. And
right.
I don't care to watch these guys fight over a secondary title, or what they've been doing pretty much is, hey, we're fighting for the number one contender. I don't care about that. I want to see the champion fight. And I mean, Lesnar shows up, maybe 4 times a year, with Heyman mostly doing most of the talking. So it's kind of boring to me.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm him, I'm taking all the money Vince has given me.
Oh, yeah.
I know I got to show up at a dozen events. I walk in a ring. I stare at the hard camera for 3 minutes. Paul Heyman does his magic. Rotate my shoulders a few times, kind of flex a little bit.
Yep.
Make sure I mention Suplex City, and I get my check and I go home. So I don't blame the guy.
No, I know. He's got it made,
at the same time, as a fan, I want to see the guy in action. I don't want to just wait once a month on a pay-per-view, and I especially don't want to wait a whole month. And then when I do see him, it's one of those squash matches where he does 12 suplexes and walks out the ring.
Well, the thing is, I don't mind a part-timer leading up to WrestleMania, because you know what? Guys like The Rock, when they've made appearances, and we can even put Cena in that same thing, and Lesnar, they add something to the big event. But a part-timer holding the title, and Vince has done this multiple times. I mean, when The Rock got the title back when he was battling Cena and held on to it, I think it tarnishes the championship a lot. And as you're saying, there's no suspense. I think a lot of people were pretty pissed last pay-per-view for Raw when Strowman got squashed by Lesnar, which made no sense. Yeah. You build a guy up for a half a year as this unstoppable force, and then Lesnar plows right through him like nothing.
Well, the thing with that match, too, was supposedly Strowman's finisher is that running power slam.
Yep.
He hit him with, 3 or 4 of them in that match?
Mm-hmm.
And then Lesnar gives him one F5.
I don't understand it.
You guys have been doing this false finish stuff now for, like it's overkill. And now the one time you got a guy built up to be this monster that everyone's, fully
vested in,
believing in. Yeah, completely vested in. You're going to make him have a clean loss off one finish.
Yeah,
it didn't make any sense. It's like, where are you going?
Well,
are you guys just throwing canned biscuits against the wall and hope something sticks?
Part of it is, though, too, is I think Vince is still so much in love with Lesnar being a guy who's held the world title for UFC. You know what I mean? In his mind, I think that makes him think that wrestling is more legitimized. His champion is more legitimate if he's also a former UFC champion. But it's two different things.
I was a big UFC fan back in the day. I don't watch it like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
But when Lesnar first came out, I remember oh my God, Brock Lesnar's going to do UFC. And I watched his fights. I think his record's 5-3.
Yeah.
I was doing a little research before we talked. But I remember he had 2 matches with Frank Mir, and the first one he lost. He got submitted.
Mm-hmm.
He went in like a bull, and the guy caught him. Well, the second time he finished him. His last match in the UFC, he won, and then they had the steroid thing afterwards. Yep. So he went right back to WWE.
Well, you know what's funny about that, just real quick? So he gets hit with the drug thing, but there's no mention of it ever made in WWE. They don't even acknowledge it at all because evidently, if you're a part-time wrestler, you don't have to take part in any drug test or anything. So it's kind of convenient.
Well, they need to bring RVD back if that's the case.
Yeah, no shit.
But yeah, I mean, it's they were even going to build up to let him go back to fight John Bones Jones, who happened to test positive a second time for steroids.
Yep.
So now he's banned for possibly 3 to 4 years. So now there's no big draw for Lesnar to come back. I was thinking about it. I went back and watched Lesnar's first WWE appearance with Paul Heyman.
Gotcha.
I watched it on the network. He comes out. Lesnar's, 20-something, young. Missing the tattoo on his chest. He had the one on his back.
Right out of Ohio Valley.
Yeah, right out of, was it OVW or whatever?
It was, yeah.
And, he was the next big thing. And he come out and was just this freak. And then, and now you jump ahead and you think he's done what? He left for Minnesota Vikings football for a while.
He tried, didn't make the team.
Then he come back, and then he left again, went to UFC.
Yep.
And now he's back because of the steroid thing. He can't go back to UFC until all that gets cleared up or whatever.
Well, and also at his age, he's at that point almost where he can't go back and do UFC. For the type of money he makes, there's no way in the world he'd make that anywhere else. You know what I mean? WWE, he's going to make a ton of money. He could probably keep making a ton of money probably till he's 50, more than likely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at, I hate to use like Hogan and Flair and WCW because they, pretty well wrote their own checks there. But
true.
Those guys are in their 50s there. And they were draws. They were top draws.
Yeah.
And they made great money there. So he could easily do it. Going back to the main point, though, I just like to see him on TV more,
But the problem of it is you know what? Vince has a precedent by giving him these contracts and saying, hey, you only have to do so many dates. And if you're Lesnar, why would you take more dates? You know what I mean? He's already got Vince where he wants him because, unfortunately, that's on WWE's end, they haven't built big enough stars to be Brock Lesnar types. You know what I mean? They're trying now with NXT, but there was that lull there where most of the guys they brought up didn't hit. About a 10-year period after Cena, they had that next guy, no one hit. So Lesnar can come back and they're going to keep paying him, and unfortunately, we're going to suffer as fans.
Well, and then going back to that period with Cena, they didn't have NXT built up like it is now. So they were really relying on stealing other people's stars to fill in their own.
Yeah.
Now they've got what you call homegrown talent since they got them down there at that performance center.
Yeah.
The one thing that surprised me, though, is with Lesnar in the UFC, that Vince is so willing to let him go back. Because, you got this guy, he's your star, one of your big main draws, and you build him up as the beast and everything else. Those guys he's fighting in UFC, they're no joke. I mean, he come in as a champ in one match, and he fought a guy named Cain Velasquez, who was a wrestler for Arizona. He tore through him in one round and won the title off of him.
Yeah.
I mean, made him look human.
Yeah.
And I always wondered about that. It's like, well, how much does that hurt? I guess it doesn't hurt your wrestling product, but wouldn't that be in the back of your mind? Like,
I don't think he cares, though, because if you think about it, the amount of pub you get just for Lesnar being in one of those events, I think it outweighs if he loses. Because of the way they've built him, it's something a little different. And people that are fans of wrestling and fans of that, they know the difference. And I don't think it hurts.
That's true.
I don't think it hurts at all. But as we talk about that, right now the rumor is that Lesnar is going to wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That's what every dirt sheet out there says. And myself, I'm not happy about it because I feel that there's a lot of guys out there that are getting the shaft because of Lesnar. I feel that since Finn Balor's come back from his injury, he has not pushed anywhere near what he was when he first came up. And I think
there's a guy, I agree with you. There's a guy that first ever Universal Champion.
Mm-hmm.
Never in the title picture again since he got back from injury.
Yeah. And I think that's because of Lesnar. That's because of Lesnar. I really believe that. If Lesnar wasn't the champion, he'd be right in the mix.
Yeah. I mean, not even close. And to build up a guy like Strowman, everyone already knows what they're shooting for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with that guy? You know, you're gonna mess it up. You know, you got to bring the Shield back just to get Reigns over.
Yeah, and I mean, the sad thing of it is I think they're building to a main event that a lot of people don't care about. Now, you know what? Young people, they like Roman Reigns. You hear them cheer, but half the crowd hates, half the crowd likes. And I mean, I think people our age don't find anything interesting about Reigns, truthfully, or Lesnar, to be quite honest. And the only reason I'm not a big fan of Lesnar, kind of the same way when Goldberg came back, I am not a fan of part-time wrestlers at all, because it hurts my chance to really get into some of these other guys that are doing good things, but they're put on the back burner because the main stories now are going to focus on a guy who's here for 3 months. And we're going to waste all of our TV time and do all this crap on a guy who can't go. And they put on half-ass matches. And you know what? Even The Undertaker, half-ass match, not worth my time last WrestleMania. I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah, that last match of his should have been his last. Cause, I mean, he couldn't even, certain moves he couldn't even do because he couldn't pick Reigns up. And he couldn't even stand up to perform a move.
Yeah, and that's where I find it's the biggest problem is you complain that you can't build stars, but the reason you can't build stars is because you keep bringing back old stars.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, you know, I'm a Hogan guy, but he's the king of killing people's pushes. You know, for example, there's a story I heard one time where one guy was getting a push, and Hogan didn't want nothing to do with him. And it was the old WWF. It was when they had it was the cage match with Hogan and Macho Man, and it was like every jobber you could think. It was Hogan and Macho Man versus like 16 people.
Gotcha.
And they were going to go over everybody. And he wanted the one guy that was the hottest just to put him in the match, just so he could go over on him.
Well, that's the same way too with Bret Hart. And because Hogan didn't want to lose to him, that's why the whole stupid crap with Yokozuna and all that stuff happened, because he didn't want to wrestle Bret Hart. So it was some weird crap. I mean, it happens every time we watch these guys that try to protect their spots. But I don't know if Lesnar is that way. I just think it's Vince's love affair with him. And what do you do with a guy like that? What do you really do with a guy like that? Yeah.
Well, and you know, after thinking about it, it's like, well, okay, I understand why he lets him go to UFC, because, like you said, it is a draw.
Yep.
It is. It's the same reason you bring Ronda Rousey to WrestleMania. It's a draw. It's the same reason Pete Rose showed up at every WrestleMania in a chicken costume.
That's
or whatever
true.
He did with.
Well,
with
yeah.
Kane.
I mean, you can list off all the Floyd Mayweather. That's why he was at WrestleMania. Stephen Amell from Arrow. All these guys are there for the mainstream media attention.
I will say the one thing I will give Lesnar complete props for. There are other guys that tried MMA. Dave Bautista was one.
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley is another.
Yep.
Neither one of them had the success that he did. Didn't even come close.
Well, but they also didn't have the collegiate background that a Brock Lesnar had too, you know, and his wrestling background helped out immensely with what he was doing. And you forgot to mention another failure, CM Punk. So if you had the ability right now to book Brock Lesnar, what would you do with Brock Lesnar up until WrestleMania?
Right now, if I had the ability to Brock Lesnar, you know, I would book him I would drop the title off of him. That's what I would do.
And who would you give it to?
And honestly, I would leave Strowman out of it. I mean, I would have him chasing the title, but I would bring like Samoa Joe and put the title on Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Or even even Balor. Now he's not the same size as those guys, but he holds his own. But you know, I would do something like that. You know, have him drop it on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
I mean, your ratings are gonna pop. Your fans are gonna be, you know, and have Samoa Joe do like the Kamina clutch and say he blows a knee or something, and just, you know, you get him off TV for 3 to 4 weeks, and you wait till the build up closer into April for WrestleMania, and all of a sudden he pops back up out of the crowd, and you start from there, and then you have like a 3-way match with Samoa Joe Strowman and Lesnar for the title.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Joe and Strowman can feud while Lesnar's off TV, and you got your title every week on television.
Now, here's a funny one for you. I saw this on Twitter, and like I said, I take every rumor with a grain of salt because most of it's BS. Okay, we know that. But someone out there said that one of the plans they kick around, Lesnar versus Jinder Mahal, no titles on the line, just wrestling at Survivor Series. Why?
Yeah, I wouldn't even watch that.
Yeah, why?
What's the point?
Yeah, I'm with you right there. I mean, SmackDown, I used to love watching too, but it's been the same thing too. I mean, they're doing so much to protect Jinder. None of the guys who should be in the title hunt are getting a chance to wrestle for the title, so I don't care. And
exactly,
they've made both titles mean nothing to me right now, so I don't care at all.
You know, well, we've talked about Jinder before and trying to get the billion Indian population to watch. But
you end up hurting the main audience trying to get yourself into a place for to just make a little more money. I don't know. But like I said, that's kind of our fantasy booking here for Brock Lesnar this week's show. Any last things you got to say there, Hoss?
I'd say I like Lesnar, but I would either drop the title off of him or I thought the best he did this year was selling to Strowman when Strowman put him through those tables and stuff.
Well, also for Samoa Joe. I thought he had a great match for Samoa Joe at that pay-per-view a few months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like they had chemistry and looked good, and he wasn't just suplexing people all night and then done.
But I also think, too, I'd be fine seeing Lesnar go away for a year. Because sometimes I feel like when we get to this time of the year, I'm just sick of seeing him pop up. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I don't think we'll be seeing an Undertaker at this year's WrestleMania.
Crossing my fingers.
Surprised.
Crossing my fingers. All right, Tom, thank you very much for this week's show.
This is Mick Foley. You are listening to the Under the Ring Report. And if you don't listen, so help me out. I'll laugh pretty damn loud. Have a nice day.
Follow the Under the Ring Report on Twitter at UTRR Podcast. You can subscribe to the Under the Ring Report on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, or visit undertheringreport.com. Thanks for listening to the Under the Ring Report.